All right. How's it going, everybody? My name is Christopher Pack. I have been playing around with this podcast for a little bit. I was calling it This Week in Art. I'm still wanting to, it's still new, and I'm still wanting to experiment with it. So I'm contemplating calling it Today in Art and doing a daily upload. Part of the reason for that is in today's like social media environment, like especially with like because my first upload of this is like going to YouTube. Then from that, I'm gonna pull audio and put it as a audio podcast. But YouTube really likes 10-minute daily content, and this may be the easiest way to do it because I'm still planning on like uploading my normal you know, time lapse paintings or like kind of the vlogs where I'm out grabbing the photos for the reference images for the paintings that I create and all that. But I feel like if I want to build an audience with YouTube, if I do kind of like daily uploads, some of them may not be more than a few minutes. I guess it just depends on because my main concern with this is like if I do it daily, being able to find something to talk about for like 10 minutes daily. Like I said, I may try this daily thing for the next 30 days and see what happens with it. Because today is August 15th. It's like 10:40 at night right now. So I'm gonna like basically record this and fix it and upload it and go to bed because I have to get up and work in the morning. But yeah. So I guess I'll do this at the beginning, everyone. I'm Christopher Pack. I'm an artist that works and lives in Columbus, Ohio. Uh, I'm working in like landscape, oil, palette knife paintings of like the city of like porta johns and construction sites. Trust me, it looks a lot better than what it sounds. Also, I kind of play around with like mixed medium stuff as well and drawing a little bit. I dabble in a little bit of everything, but I guess the main focus when I push out like bodies of work is those like cityscape paintings. You can check me out on Instagram. It's Christopher Pack Art. Facebook is Chris Pack Art. My website is christopherpack.com. Twitter, ChrisPack1986. What else is there? I'll have all the links and everything like listed below as well. And hopefully in the audio podcast it'll be in the description. I'm not sure yet. So, today in art, let's and I'm trying out if you're like watching on video, I'm trying out like a new format. I like cuz I had the camera like normally this way, then like cropped in on it. And then I kind of realized like actually the whole camera's like flipped like sideways like you're taking a portrait photo. Kind of like the way like when you watch vertical video on like Facebook and some YouTube and like especially like IGTV now, like it's very vertical. So when you're watching this, you're getting like instead of it being cropped in on the sensor I'm using, it's like it's using the whole sensor now. It's just turned sideways, so hopefully it'll be a better image of me. All right, let's get to this. So I kind of want to focus on. So I kind of want to focus on this one right here. I know it has art critics on art shaming. Yes, it exists. And yes, it exists, and Khloe Kardashian kind of deserved it. Okay, I don't watch the Kardashians or any of that. Surprise. But let's see what this says. This is from The Observer. It came out yesterday at like 9:55 a.m. by Laura Pitcher. Khloe Kardashian accuses her mother of art shaming. Is this about actual art or is this about their show? Well, I guess we'll find out. Gotta hear ads. Alright. I hope this is about art, because if not, I don't want to talk about the Kardashians. Let it never be said that there's a topic too lofty for the Kardashians to tackle. Last night's episode is okay, so it's about something that happened on their TV series. Great, I'm glad I'm covering it on here. All right. Last night's episode turned its attention to elitism in the fine arts, sort of. In a conversation between Khloe Kardashian and her momager, Kris Jenner, Khloe asked about Jeff Koons' signature balloon animal. Let me click this and maybe it will show us these. I have not seen these in person, but they're well, let's get back to the article first and we'll go back to that. So maybe I can make this work with a Kardashian inspired something or another. Unsure of what it is, after Kris tells her with a very pursed pout that she needs to go to an art class. Khloe feels hurt and in her own words, art shamed. Okay, so I get what we're going at here. She chastises her mother for making her feel less than for her lack of knowledge rather than kindly helping to educate her. So, this is kind of what this is getting at. Like, oh, you don't know about art? You peasant. You don't know about the delicacies and the whatevers of this? Ha 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 ha. Like, I'm an artist that's been delved in this for 8 years now, and there's still a lot of crap that's I just don't get it. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I just don't get it, or I don't believe you. I think it's just a bunch of fucking hyped bullshit. There's a lot of that. I can't think of any specific artist right now, nor do I want to, I guess. But when they have this kind of these paintings that are non-representational, abstract stuff, where it's kind of where it's paint that's kind of something that's kind of Jackson Pollock, but it's people are doing it and kind of selling it as wall art, and oh, it's the meaning of the napkin and the breeze and all this wonderful stuff and the essence of life and how we all struggle. I'm like fuck you, you threw some paint. It looks pretty. You're selling it as wall art. I mean, it is what it is, but granted, there is artists that spend years in that style and that type of medium that try to really bring out this metaphysical essence through years of trying to do it. What's his name? I'm bad with names. I can't remember his name. But certain famous painters, where they paint it's like a red, it's like a 5 foot by 6 foot, just kind of red painting where it's variations of red and all this other stuff where they're trying to bring out emotions. But also those came out in the 50s and 60s when they're in opposition to, say, realism, or they're objectifying state-sponsored art or something like that. There's this other topical meaning of the day. So let's get back to the article. But while this expression might now be making a comeback, the turn of phrase is hardly new. Art shaming entered Urban Dictionary in 2013 with a slightly different, though certainly related meaning. The act of undervaluing certain art-related careers and work while at the same time trying to seem cultured in the arts and abusing its pleasures was how it defined the term. But Khloe's use of it touches on a feeling anyone who has attended even their fair share of art events or exhibitions has probably felt at some point. The embarrassment of being on the receiving end of a snide, "Oh, You haven't heard of them? You peasant. Because I went in like, because I try to go into art galleries as much as I can, open reception stuff like locally around here. And I don't talk really a lot, and they probably don't know I'm an artist, and you can kind of hear other people's conversations and stuff, which is very interesting. I think it might be cool if I do kind of like a secret like lavalier mic, even like maybe for even like my own like open reception, like set up like a microphone, like I'd have to look at Ohio's laws on that, whether you can like whether it's a single or both party consent state, but kind of like record and try to like record people's conversations and see what they say without knowing they're being recorded, so they have like the most genuine talk about it. Because if you like pressure them to talk about it, they'll try to act like they know what they're saying a lot of the time, other than like just hearing their true, real, raw thoughts on it. So, because the Kardashians are known for getting down to the real issues, we wanted to find out if this really was one. Was Khloe right that art shaming is a real problem and one that must be stopped, or was Chris right that Khloe should look into like an art class? I mean, I did a because I got a bachelor's in fine arts with like a art history minor, and there's like when you delve into it, there's like so much shit to look into. It's hard to like unless you spend. I mean, you can spend 10, 15, 20 years just studying the French and like European impressionists and stuff. And there's also expressionists, and there's also cubism, and there's surrealism, and there's modernism, and there's postmodernism, and there's so many subsets. It's like to even think you'd know it unless you're like a museum curator that's been working in the art field for like 30 years, and you're like, but still, there's like so much shit to learn. It's ridiculous. Which is part of the reason why I forgot to mention this. It's part of the reason why I'm doing this, so I can. I was talking about it weekly, but if I do this daily thing, that like I'm wanting to keep myself in the know of current art events, and if you happen to have interest in fine arts, which I understand this is probably going to be a very niche podcast that maybe other artists listen to. Maybe if I'm lucky, it can get into like some kind of current art history. I don't know, but it's probably going to be a very niche audience that listens to this, that has like a definite real interest in art. So it's probably other artists, if I'm lucky. We annoyed two prominent art critics with crucial questions about the reality TV show to find out. Kris Jenner cast a glance at the offending sculpture at Jeff Koons, in case you didn't know. Do they have one in their fucking house or something? I swear if they have one in their house, fuck them. This is like a larger one. Or maybe it isn't. Well, no, it says 121 inches is what? It's probably what, 10, 11 foot, something like that. I know with him, Jeff Koons, he has like a whole host of people that work for him, and there's like kind of an issue with people saying that like the artist needs to have their hand in and do all these other things, but when you actually look back into because they're trying to figure out who is it Leonardo da Vinci, or like that whole area where they have the master artist, and then also they have either like a school artist below them, or they have like an apprentice or two, and they have found out that like some of the paintings they originally thought were whoever might have been like Da Vinci, or might have been like one of their students, and he really liked it, and it was under his like business. This was essentially what it is. It was a business, so he really liked it, so he'd sign his name, and all you gotta do is come in, and sign your name and sell it without actually painting it. Although you are putting, I don't know how many years into teaching that apprentice to paint pretty much exactly like you. So there's that. Martha, oh my God, Schwinder, an art critic for the New York Times with a PhD in art history, has also experienced art shaming. So there's clearly no hope for any of us. That's what I was kind of talking about. Like, there's no possibility you're going to know everything. Like, you can delve and get a PhD in a certain specific area, and still, it's not going to be enough. I mean, art stretches back to, I mean, when you start an art history class, you go back, you start like 30,000, 40,000 years ago with like the cave paintings in like France. And you kind of work your way up. There's like some stuff in like the Middle Ages and stuff. And you really get into like the Renaissance. And that's when stuff really like starts to open up, like the Medicis and all their stuff. Then you get into, oh my God. And like there's like realism, or the realist, and there's like a whole host of things. Like I've forgotten like a lot of their names. But rather than it being about someone like Jeff Koons, she said it's usually about an artist or gallery in Brunswick or Ridgewood. She's also not surprised to hear that Khloe hasn't heard of Jeff Koons. In this country, we televise Kardashians. In the UK, they televise the Turner Prize, she said. How would people in the U.S. know about art? That sounds like a slam on the U.S. But as for art shaming being an important issue of our time, Schwindener said no. When asked if she wants to help push the movement of art becoming less elitist, she replies, would you ask a physicist the same question? Or a philosopher? If people want popular culture or populist culture, our country and society are swimming in that. If you want something a little more thoughtful and challenging, you might turn to art. But you can also, I mean, you can argue that cinematography, movies, that's art. That's very popular. It just depends what it is. Because kind of part of the reason I'm doing this too is like, obviously, I want to build an audience for my art. If I do daily things, I get more eyeballs, keep more eyeballs, that's also great. But originally, I was wanting to start interviewing and do like interviews and podcasts of like artists around here. But I need to build up that audience before I can do that. And there's no way I can do that every day. Maybe once a week if I'm really pushing it, once a month maybe. But but I mean, I forgot where I was going with that. But oh yeah, what I was saying is like I'm trying to, because I've been spending like the last year and a half like really delving into like filmmaking and starting like live streaming, broadcasting, all that stuff. Because I'm trying to, if I can somehow, which some have done this, but I don't. I mean, I'm trying to bring like use modern, if you want to call it modern art, like cinematography and illustration and graphic design and all this stuff. Trying to use that to bring traditional art back into the fray, I guess, so more people can know about it. I don't know. Maybe that's just a weird rant. Okay, did I go? What happened? Ben Davis, a national art critic for ArtNet News, tends to agree that we should be careful about making everything populist. We got a reality TV star president who rages against the media elite, so the elitism question is actually kind of loaded. Okay. Davis understands that art circles composed of just people showing off an expensive education, may be easy to hate, and admits that a large percentage of casual art conversation is usually micro art shaming. But he is also quick to point out if elitist means culture that appeals to small groups of people with very specific tastes, that can actually be a good thing. He personally is a fan of difficult ideas and weird things that not everyone will get. Which I can get that, but like when you're making it elitist just to be elitist, then no. I mean, if there's like a certain level of, if it's like, if you're having like an art show, there's like this huge like multifaceted problem where there's like so many layers and it could be hard to grasp because whoever created it has spent the last 3 years researching and developing. I can kind of get that, but then again, as an artist, you should be able to make. You should, to the best of your ability. Uh, do I want to say like make your art easily digestible? Or there needs to be at least some kind of pull into it so people can understand it. Unless you're like represented in the gallery and you're like not really worried about the common person, which I don't. I don't like the elitist thing. I kind of have an issue with galleries too. Not none that I've worked with, but what I've heard about it being very elitist and hard to get into and all that stuff. But you know, am I not plugged in with the? There we go. One of the best things about art is that it doesn't have to appeal to everyone. He said, sometimes that kind of work makes you feel dumb at first or like you don't get it. But if you don't feel like you don't get it sometimes, then you may be rather incurious about others or not terribly self-aware. I still think there needs to be, maybe it's just me. This is my podcast. So I really think there should be, like there can be this deeper meaning to it. But I still think there needs to be like an initial instant, like having like a pretty picture helps. Then you can have like the meaning behind it, why you used these materials, this what this like image means, why you constructed it this way. But there still needs to be something to draw it in, to draw the viewer in, or it's not going to be seen, especially in today's world. Unless somehow you got a lot of money, you can like push it out through advertising. That's a whole nother issue. He goes on to compare Khloe feeling art shame for not knowing about Jeff Koons to a wine snob getting mad at someone for not knowing Yellowtail. Lady Gaga has a song about Koons. Koons did stage sets for Jay-Z. He gave art lessons to at least one other Kardashian. He said, if there's one person she might know if she was paying attention to art at all, it might be Jeff Koons. I don't know. The critics' verdict on Khloe cries of art shaming seems to be an abounding who cares. Jesus. Ultimately, the Kardashians may not be shining a light on any revolutionary cultural issues. Davis thinks that a little shame is not always a bad thing, which, yeah, it's not, yeah, it's true, I guess, but it depends how they do it. And can, in fact, motivate someone to check themselves and ensure they don't stay ignorant. Well, if you're going to, like, completely turn somebody off to it, then they're not going to. So, I don't know about that. This piece of advice sounds vaguely familiar to Chris's own advice. You need to go to like an art class. That's hard to read like that. That being said, Davis also reminds us that when it comes to art shaming, it's important to remember who is making you feel the way and why. That way and why. If Kris Jenner tried to shame him about Jeff Koons, Davis said he would simply laugh in her face. So I guess that's that article. Is there more about this certain balloon? He has a whole series of balloons. The balloons are, from what I remember, I mean, they look like, he has like a whole series too. They're like a they obviously look like, balloon animals, but they're like I'm not sure of the weight. They got to be heavy because they're like metallic and they're like really shiny too. Like I was saying, this one's probably it's like 10 or 11 foot, and also about actually it's like 10 foot by 12 foot by like 4 foot wide. And I think if I remember correctly, I want to say that some of these were at the Wexner a few years back. Maybe I'm wrong. I may have seen some of these in person, or at least one of them. But they're talking about, like I was saying earlier, there's some people that have issues with artists not doing their own work, but they try to go back to the apprenticeship thing. So I don't know about that. All right. So, that's one article. It's like 25 minutes in, so I'm thinking I might do like try to pick one article a day and maybe go like real in depth with it. Like maybe we can see who Martha Schwindiger is. Schwindiger. Apparently she's an influential art critic. Let's see what she looks like. Has she got a picture of her? I've heard Jerry Saltz. I think maybe I follow him on Twitter. He's very liberal though, which I guess a lot of artists are and art critics. Maybe this will be something I'll get into at some point. The art critic things. Then who's the other one? Ben Davis. I'm not really sure who that is. And said a national art critic for ArtNet News. But yeah, I mean, if you're probably listening to this, you're probably an artist. But if for some reason you're not, if you're just interested in art, go in. If you have a question, ask a question. If they make you feel dumb for asking a question, tell them to go fuck themselves and walk out. Because I don't believe that fucking... Like, you're not... Like, I know a lot. I know a lot more about art than, like, the general public. And there's still shit I have, like, no clue about. So if I don't know, like, there's no way to know. I mean, go in and ask them, like, oh, like, why'd you decide to do this? You know, how long did it take? Oh, like, what would you, did you all, you painted it, like, with this? Like, if the artist is there, here's the thing, if the artist is there, I mean, if it's during an open or closing reception, they may be kind of busy talking to everybody. But if they're there, or if it's not that, or they're doing an artist talk, usually they have, I know a lot of times they have artist talks where they have, like, they'll talk about their series of works for, like, 10 minutes, then they'll open the floor to, like, questions and answers. I mean, if you have a question, ask them, then, like, they'll probably more likely be happy to answer. But it's usually when you get to, not all the time, maybe not most of the time, but sometimes, like, the gallery representatives, they're the ones that are, like, kind of, can be snobby at times. And it may be that they're trying to hold this, like, air about them in the gallery and all. They only, like, want, like, they only want to talk to people that look dressed nice, that may, put out money to buy it, to buy, that art, that piece that costs $15,000. So, from my own personal experience, that seems to be where the issue comes in, is like that's not even like the curator of that show. It's maybe their would you call it, like a receptionist? Like the people, like the persons that's there to, like, welcome people. But yeah, that's gonna be it for August 15th. I'm gonna try to do this every day until September 15th. See what happens with it. Like I said, all my links and everything will be down in the description. Definitely on YouTube. Hopefully I can get the audio sorted out and get that up. I'm thinking I got to look into it a little bit more, but I'm thinking I can like put it out to Anchor, then it'll shoot out to the different places from that. But yeah, like I said, my name is Christopher Pack. I'm an artist working and living in Columbus, Ohio. I got the Instagram, the Facebook, the Twitter. I got a Patreon too for my art. And I got an Etsy page too. It's just, you can pretty much type in like Christopher Pack art and all this stuff will come up. So have a good night, because it's nighttime for me. I don't care if you listen to this in the morning. Have a good night. Have a good night. All right. I'm out. Don't be art shamed. Tell them to go fuck themselves. You bunch of stuck up motherfuckers. That elitist shit just pisses me off. I hate when people do that. All right, but for real, have a good day. See ya.